Hello, YouTubers. I hope everybody's doing well and safe in this year of 2021. Okay, let's get to the topic. I wanted to discuss the whole thing of black women being involved with white men and black men being involved with white women. First, if black women are going to become involved with white men, usually they have to look a certain way. You have to look like a beanpole, very, very thin. Maybe stacked in certain places like the breast, the backside, the legs. But you have to be tight. You have to up your game substantially. And they could be the lowest of the low of white men. That's what they expect. They want the best of us as black women. And if we're darker complexioned black women, we really have to step up our game. We have to have a nice bank account, usually an important position that we're working in terms of career, not just a job. Okay? No baggage, as if we're flying an aircraft carrier. No baggage whatsoever. Like I said, those white men want the best of the best out of us as black women. And we have to act the part. We shouldn't be associated with anything that they feel would tarnish their image, whatever image that is. Because they could be the worst, under the barrel, disgusting white men. That's what they're looking for if they choose to be involved with black women, whether as a boyfriend or for marriage. And if they decide that they're going to ask black women to marry them, what I just stated is what they're looking for. Also, black women are the ones that's going to sacrifice everything in their life to be a part of white men's world, so to speak. That means you should be seen, not heard. You shouldn't be out there protesting or anything, because you're joining the white man's world of economics. And you pay a price for that. You don't belong to yourself any longer. You also give up your family, your friends, acquaintances. You're giving up everything to be involved with white men. And that's how it is. Now, there are black women that will disagree with what I'm stating, but it's true. Now, as those black women become older, eventually those white men are going to say goodbye to them also. If they begin gaining a few pounds, they see any wrinkles here and there, or after they have a few kids and the VG is no longer as tight as it was when they met you 5-10 years ago. And that's how it is. With white women, they know that more than anything else, because when they reach 30, which is usually the cutoff point for them, they're also kicked to the curb. And they're kicked for an upgrade that may look similar to how they looked when they were younger. And that's really how it is, and that's the reality. And it's sad, but it's true. Now, as for black men dating white women, when those white women decide to hook up with black men, they understand that they're relinquishing their economic clout where white men are concerned. They're no longer in the fold of whiteness when they become involved with black men. And that's not to say you have bad black men or good black men. It's just to say that that's also a fact. Those white women are relinquishing everything that comes with being white. And they know that. And they cannot go back. They know that as well. And that's also a fact. It's very sad that that's the reality of those relationships. Now, I don't know the statistics in terms of a definitive statistic in terms of how long marriages last between black women and white men, but I guarantee it lasts a lot longer than black men being married to white women. Because black women will sacrifice everything to keep a marriage going because they want the marriage to last as long as possible, especially if there are children involved. And that's a fact, because walking away from a marriage, a two-parent household, when you have children, is very, very difficult to do, because you'll be slapped it right back into poverty. And it's usually like that, because raising children on your own is like raising one child is like raising a world. Two child is like raising two worlds. And I don't want to tell you, I don't need to say what three children would do. You know, the statistics for that and single parenthood, especially with black women, is stark. I mean stark. Devastatingly stark. So no woman in her right mind wants to be embroiled with a divorce when they have children, even if it's one child. If they do, it's because it's gotten down to where, I guess, lack of choice. Now, black men, when they're involved with white women, they also relinquish who they are anyway. You know, all of a sudden, black women are a problem, black women are this, black women are that. There's a litany of terrible things that they have to say about black women. And if they're with white women, they don't dare even glance at a black woman, because that's like sacrilege. And the same thing goes for black women with white men. You know, because they know that relationship will be done, or they're going to catch hell when they go home to their white spouses. You know, and black men, when they're involved with white women, it's usually the grimiest looking white woman that they can find. I've never seen a black man with a fine looking white woman. You know, maybe there exists some. I haven't written the book or seen every single black man, of course, with a white woman, but however, I've seen a lot of them, and they are grimy looking. In the meantime, some of those brothers are fine. They're dressed to the max, but those white women are usually overweight, and there's nothing going on. They're working some grimy little job, if they're working. You know, some of them are usually on the system. You know, they're getting the welfare, the food stamps, the whole nines, you know, and they're busy having children with all these black men, and eventually the black men dump them because they don't want to be bothered any longer. They start treating them exactly how they treat dark-skinned black women, you know, and they kick them to the curb. It's that simple. Now, black women with white men, eventually they're going to get kicked to the curb when they're with those white men too. It's only a matter of time. They may last a little longer, in truth, if they can keep themselves up and keep the kids going and everything looking good, and they can still be, you know, a whore in the bedroom, a housewife in the kitchen, and the beautiful hostess in the living room. And that's really the reality. But when you become involved with white people, that's how it is. You relinquish everything that has to do with being black, because you're entering their world, you know, their ego. You have to stroke extra. You know, you actually become a white woman with a tan, a darker tan. And you have to be a certain way. And if you're not, you're out. So when I say white women or men that black men or women will get involved with, is because they're the dominant force within this society and other societies, because they hold the purse strings. And the fact of the matter, whoever holds the purse strings controls. You know, the thing about white people that I've found, they can be under the barrel as grimy as possible, and yet they still want the best of black women or black men, because they feel entitled because the society caters to them. And it's that simple. You can have black men and black women that have PhDs and masters and bachelors and associates, and they have a wonderful career. And the grimiest of white women or white men believe that, oh, they're still better than us. And that's because, sadly, the pathology of many black women and men has been very, very diminished in this society, because everything is set up to make us feel inferior to white people. You view the commercials, the shows, in terms of movies, Broadway plays, soap operas. I could go on and on and on. Everything caters to whiteness. And it's that simple. If, children's hands are dirty, they'll say things like, look how black your hands are. It's dirty. So already, even when their children are small, they begin forming those images that being black is dirty. It's not seen as, oh, well, your hands are just dirty. They have to always attach black to everything that's negative. So therefore, sadly, many of our sisters and brothers as black people, all these things we're exposed to. And our children are reared in households that's usually single parents, that are doing everything in their power to put food on the table and are compromised economically. And our children are exposed to everything that's negative. So of course, if they get involved with white people, it's like, oh my God, they're the second coming of Moses. They're precious, and this is what occurs. As a result, the pathology of many of our brothers and sisters are compromised to such a negative level, it's pathetic. Eventually, I would hope that our people would wake up by now. But sadly, many of our people aren't. They're still caught in that quagmire of hate towards themselves and other black folks. Because since they hate themselves, they hate other black people. And the fact is, if you don't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? Especially another black person. And that's just the truth. Some of us have the guts to say that out loud, my words, and some of us don't. Because it's a hard thing to admit self-hate. I'm in my 60s now. However, I once had to deal with self-hate. Because I once felt like white people were like the second coming of Moses when I was very, very young. I believe I was 19 then. And I wanted to have a nose job because I wanted to have the straight nose. I would starve myself to be very, very thin. So before even bulimia became a thing, I used to be bulimic. I would eat something and regurgitate because I wanted to be as thin as possible to be accepted by them. And I've dated a few white men. So what I'm talking about, I know. I didn't fuck them, because I was too afraid of them, of how I would look, what they would think of me. Did I want to? I probably did, but I never did. And the same thing goes, the same words that I'm speaking goes for other groups if black people choose to get involved with other groups as well. Because the fact is, all those other groups such as Asians, Indians, Spanish people, they have a more definitive sense of self. But as black people, we don't have that. Many of our brothers and sisters don't have that, sadly, because we've been battered around by the system and by our own relatives who are either envious of us or jealous or also have their self-hate that's going on. I was reared in that type of household to a degree. And I ran away from it because it was just destructive. And thank God I did. And I've never regretted it. You know, my mother was a very, 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 very negative person. I can't remember anything positive she had to say to me. I can't remember her ever hugging me. You know, the few times that she would tell me she loved me, it was usually over the telephone. Consequently, as time went by over the years, I broke totally from her. She passed on last year. And a week before she did, over the telephone we spoke. And the one thing she told me, and I wish she had told me years ago, was that she was sorry that she'd never supported me. And that was in November of 2020, and the 4th of November 2020. You know, it was so sad. She passed on the 11th of that same year. You know, and it's been a little over 2 months now since she's passed. In any case, I just wanted to state, you know, love yourself. Love yourself. As Black people, we need to love ourselves and respect who we are. Not for anyone else, but for ourselves. So that we can live a life where we will be happy no matter who we get involved with. Because the fact is, whoever you get involved with complements whoever you already are. And when they leave, you will still be who you are, because eventually the relationship will end. That's just how life is. Everything comes to an end. It's not a matter of if, it's only a matter of when. And on that note, I wish everybody well and have a nice evening. Like and subscribe. If you don't like my comments, it's okay. That's just life. Bye-bye.